Breaking news, guys. DSS operatives stormed Supreme Court for judgment on Nnamdi Kanu. What is going on here right now will shock you. Armed operatives of the Department of State Service, DSS, have stormed the Supreme Court ahead of the highly anticipated judgment in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Politics Nigeria gathered that roads leading to the courts and the nearby villa gate were sealed off by DSS personnel, leaving only those deemed essential to the proceedings able to pass. Journalists with official Supreme Court tag were initially turned back without explanation. However, it took the intervention of high-ranking court officials to secure access for news media. An unmarked security vehicle blocked the main entrance, serving as a makeshift checkpoint where journalists were scrutinized before being allowed in entry. Justice Kudirat Kekere, who heads the 5-member panel hearing the case, is still being expected at the court. This judgment will determine whether Kanu, who has been in DSS custody since June 2021, will be released or remain detained. So guys, it's happening right now. The Supreme Court of Nigeria will today deliver judgment on the appeal by the Nigerian government challenging an order for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. IPOB is a group seeking to carve out a sovereign state of Biafra from southeast and some parts of south-south Nigeria. Mr. Kanu, the IPOB leader, has been in detention since June 2021 when he was repatriated from Kenya to Nigeria. He was first arrested in 2015 under the administration of the former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. The Court of Appeal, Abuja, on the 13th October 2022, held that the IPOB leader was extraordinary rendition to Nigeria and that the action was a flagrant violation of the country's extradition treaty and also a breach of his fundamental human rights. The court therefore struck out the terrorism charges filed against Nnamdi Kanu by the Nigerian government and ordered his release from the DSS facility. But the Nigerian government refused to release the IPOB leader, insisting that Kanu could be unavailable in subsequent court proceedings if released and that his release would cause insecurity in the southeast where he comes from. The government, through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, later appealed the court's ruling and subsequently obtained an order staying the execution of the court's judgment at the Supreme Court. The court in October slated 15th December for the judgment on the appeal, which is today. During the hearing of the appeal in October, a 5-member panel of the court headed by Kudirat Kekere adjourned the suit for judgment after taking argument from lawyers to the parties. Meanwhile, Mr. Kanu had on 3rd November 2022, through one of his lawyers, Mr. Mike Uzekome, filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging his continued detention due to the stay of execution order. Ms. Kekere Ekun, during the hearing, said the decision that would be reached in the federal government appeal would address issues raised by Mr. Kanu's suit challenging his continued detention. Earlier in the hearing, the federal government's lawyer, Tijani Ghazali San, urged the Supreme Court to allow the appeal and set aside the decision of the Court of Appeal freeing Mr. Kanu. Mr. Gazeli, who is the acting director of civil appeals at the Federal Ministry of Justice in Abuja, prayed the court to affirm the judgment of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which sustained terrorism charges against the IPOB leader. But Mr. Uzekome, a lawyer, professor, and son, prayed the appeals court to dismiss the appeal with punity, cause, and respectfully uphold the cross appeal to do substantial justice to this case. He told the court that Mr. Kanu had been languishing in detention since 29 June 2021. He was brought back to Nigeria. The Supreme Court is expected to take a decision on whether or not the federal government's appeal against Mr. Kanu's release should stand. The court will also decide on whether or not the IPOB leader's cross-appeal challenging his continued detention will be allowed. It will also determine whether or not Mr. Kanu was extraordinarily renditioned to Nigeria from Kenya, and if such an act constitutes a violation of his fundamental human rights. Now the question is, will the court free Nnamdi Kanu? The judgment comes about 3 days after the President General of Organizing Igbo, the Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization, Emmanuel Iwenyanwu, asked President Bola Tinubu to release Mr. Kanu. So guys, what's your take on this? Mr. Kanu's fate now hangs in the much-awaited judgment of the Supreme Court. Let's hear from you. Kindly share your thoughts below the comment section. Thank you.